President Bola Tinubu declares security emergency, orders army and police to recruit more personnel. Senate proposes death penalty for offenses bordering on kidnappings and other terrorism-related crimes. And rescued MAGA schoolgirls reunite with families. Hello and many thanks for joining us on the late evening news at 11 on NTN News 24. We are broadcasting live from Abuja. I am Chinenye Ngoyi. In view of the emerging security situation, President Bola Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency and ordered additional recruitment into the armed forces. The president, in a statement, directed the police and the army and authorized them to recruit more personnel. The police will recruit an additional 20,000 officers, bringing the total to 50,000. Though the president had earlier approved a nationwide upgrade of police training facilities, he authorized the police to use various National Youth Service Corps camps as training depots. The officers being withdrawn from VIP guard duties are to undergo crash training to debrief them and deliver more efficient police services when deployed to security-challenged areas of the country. The DSS is also authorized to immediately deploy all the forest guards already trained to flush out the terrorists and bandits lurking in the forest and recruit more men to man the forest. In addition, President Tinubu pledged federal government's commitment to support state governments which have set up security outfits to safeguard their people from the terrorists bent on disrupting national peace, as he called on the National Assembly to begin reviewing the laws of the country to allow states that require state police to establish them. He said states should rethink establishing boarding schools in remote areas without adequate security. Mosques and churches should constantly seek police and other security protection when they gather for prayers, especially in vulnerable areas. President Tinubu also called on all herder associations to take advantage of livestock ministry and work towards ending open grazing and surrender illegal weapons. Ranching, he noted, is now the path forward for sustainable livestock farming and national harmony. It was a moment of relief and overwhelming emotion in Birnin Kebbi as Governor Nasir Idris formally reunited the rescued MAGA schoolgirls with their families. The atmosphere was filled with tears, smiles, and prayers of gratitude, bringing closure to days of anxiety and fear following their abduction. Correspondent Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa reports.
It was a moment of overwhelming joy and relief as the rescue students of Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School MAGA were formally reunited with their families in Birnin Kebbi. The emotional reunion held at the Government House was led by the Governor of Kebbi State, Nasir Idris, and coordinated by the wife of the Governor, Hajia Zainab Nasir Idris, who ushered the girls amid cheers and prayers from parents and well-wishers.
I'm calling on parents not to prevent their daughters from returning to school. Please allow them to continue their education as the government is introducing new initiatives to ensure their safety and support.
Governor Nasir Idris expressed deep happiness over the successful rescue of the student, describing the development as a victory for the state and the entire nation. He appreciated the effort of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, security agencies, and the Minister of State for Defense for their commitment and collaboration.
The government of Kebbi State will continue to do what is expected of us to do to improve the security of life and properties of our people.
Some parents, visibly emotional, could not hide their joy as they sighted their daughters for the first time since the harrowing ordeal.
We really thank God. All this while we could not sleep, especially the mother of my daughter. The government of Nigeria and Kebbi State have tried their best, 100%. May God reward them. May God reward people all over the world.
All the students rescued were medically examined and certified to be in good condition before reuniting with their families. In Birnin Kebbi, Abdul Muhammad Bawa, NTA News.
Senate has adopted death penalty for offenses bordering on kidnappings and other terrorism-related crimes with no option of fine. It therefore resolved that the Terrorism Act be amended immediately and that judges should henceforth not be discretionary in handing down the sentence. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that this formed part of resolutions of the Senate after about 5 hours of debate on the state of security in Nigeria.
We know who these bandits are. We know what they want. What is left for us to conclude? If we are going to do negotiation, do it and finish it. If we are going to fight, we'll fight it to the finish. So if we have external aggression coming in to fight us, that means we are at war. And again, we can finger international conspiracy in all of this.
Who is the intermediary between those armed bandits and those that want these kids to be released?
It would appear as if perceived or real payment of ransom emboldened these bandits.
The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened. If all of us, particularly the elite, and few of us who are okay are carrying guns, it is war against war. These boys will run away.
It's an attack on all religions. It's an attack on all citizens of the country. It's an attack on the democracy of our country. It is an attack on Nigerian citizens. It's an attack on Nigerian government. So we must rise up to the occasion.
And I equally wish to commend Mr. President for ordering the withdrawal of police escort attached to BIFs.
Recent security breaches in Kebbi, Kwara, and Niger states prompted the intense debate. After commending President Tinubu and security operatives for prompt response to rescue victims, Senate asked the president to rejig the security architecture.
This Senate stands with Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on his determination to decisively address and resolve the insecurity challenges undermining the safety of Nigerians and the security and unity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Going by the way, going by the trend, going by the effort the President is putting in this exercise, we shall surmount this problem. But the important thing is that others should come in to complement the efforts of the federal government.
There is a need for the military to be as silent as possible on their strategies and plans.
We must find a way to integrate these local vigilantes into our security operations for communication and for effective networking.
Senate equally dissolves its Committee on National Security and Intelligence and the Committee on Air Force, while other security-related committees were charged to be proactive. It also resolved to investigate what it calls breach of security protocol, which led to the killing of security personnel in Borno, and observed a minute silence to honor the deceased. The leadership of the Senate will submit all resolutions adopted to the President for action. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has transmitted to the Senate a list of 3 persons as non-career ambassadors for screening and confirmation. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And lawmakers in the House of Representatives are urging the federal government to get tough on terrorism and violent extremism. At the resumption of debate on insecurity in the House, members are demanding decisive action to tackle the hydra-headed monster of insecurity that is rearing its ugly head across the country. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Iben reports.
It's day 2 of the special plenary convened by the House leadership to discuss national security. From kidnappings to banditry, insurgency to separatist agitations, lawmakers acknowledge that the security challenges facing the country are diverse and daunting.
The insecurity we face today is not just Boko Haram, but people within us, our very own constituents, our very own blood.
There is a threat not only to the country, there is a threat also to the institution that we all represent. Who truly benefits from this prolonged war against insurgency? And why are those fighting insurgency being silenced from within?
We must be very, very pragmatic to call on the president to do the needful. This is not about politics. It's about the lives of our people.
There is a limited trust in state mechanisms in many localities.
But lawmakers are not throwing in the towel. They are calling for a two-pronged approach, kinetic and non-kinetic measures to nip the security challenges in the bud. Some are advocating a thorough scrutiny of military recruitments, while others are conversing for intergovernmental synergy.
We need our governors to do more. The president cannot be everywhere.
Boko Haram were found in the list. Other criminals, armed robbers, gangs were found in the list of Nigerian army and police. There has to be a thorough way of ensuring that when we're recruiting, those of us that are politicians are should recommend people of good character and integrity.
The consensus is clear. The lawmakers believe it's time to take the bull by the horns and confront terrorism head-on.
Government must live up to its responsibility. Go after terrorists, go after kidnappers, go after any kind of violent criminals.
A state of emergency must be declared in security, especially in all ungoverned spaces.
We need to strengthen our borders management, arms control, and criminal justice responses to high-impact offenses.
The leadership should also interface with the executive to ensure that some of these resolutions, including past ones, are implemented.
The Nigerian people are waiting. Communities across the Northeast, the nations are watching. History will remember us today.
Briefing journalists after the recent armed attack on his convoy, member representing Borgu Agwara Federal Constituency of Niger State, Jafaru Ali, described the operations of bandits at the Kainji National Park as worrisome.
Bandits push out the rangers that are guarding the national park, and the entire administrator of the national park. No one is there again. One of the best hotels we're having in that national park is now under control of the bandits. They are the ones enjoying it.
The lawmaker appealed for more military deployments to flashpoints in Niger State. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
The mantle of leadership of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, has fell on Muhammad Magaji of Gombe State for the next 2 years, taking over from architect Kabiru Ibrahim. Tope Alabi reports that this was at the All Farmers Congress held during the 2025 National Agricultural Show ground along Abuja-Kefi Road in Nasarawa State.
The election of the new National Executive Council of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, followed a resolution passed by the General Assembly of Farmers, GAF. The Assembly, among other issues, ratified the inclusion of architect Kabiru Ibrahim, Reverend Tobias Iwu, Chief Ademola Okea, and Basi Edem Eyang as members of the Board of Trustees, BOT, as it stipulates a 3-year tenure of maximum 2 terms for all elective offices.
A caveat emptor should be issued so the general public dissociating the BOT of AFAN from the activities of one Farouk Rabiu Mudi and his associate Haladu Unisa, who are illegally using AFAN account to extort money from innocent farmers after being expelled therefrom. Do you affirm yes?
The returning officer, Ajianana Aisha Bashir, who supervised the election, declared the names of the AFAN's 27-man new National Executive Council, with Muhammad Magaji from Gombe emerging the new national president, as Dr. Femi Otumba Oke from Lagos becomes the National General Secretary.
We are calling on all members of AFAN nationwide to give us the maximum support. This government, the current government, they are very, very serious on agriculture. Very, very serious. So all they need is an umbrella body of Nigerian farmers. With this, we are going to work closely with the Federal Minister of Agriculture.
And I know that there is a lot of work in your hands, and I know you are capable. So I wish you the best of luck and wish the Afan family successful production and enhanced productivity.
With this development, Afan will be rising from this year's National Agricultural Show with a renewed commitment to continue to create platforms for collaboration and networking through innovative exchanges expected to yield tangible outcomes for the advancement of Nigeria's agricultural future. From Tudunwada in Nasarawa State, Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
This is the late evening news at 11 on NTA News 24. We'll pause here for some commercials. We'll be right back. This day.
Furniture's legendary final sale of the year is here. This festive season, enjoy extra savings on luxury and comfortable sofa sets, modern and functional dining sets, sophisticated and smart bed sets, and our royal collections. Classy, premium, and truly exclusive. Shop 10 million naira and receive a complimentary Daisy tea set. Spend 15 million and take home a 65-inch smart TV. Go higher at 20 million and experience unmatched comfort with our exclusive massage chair. Visit our showrooms in Abuja, Lagos, Kano, and Enugu, or shop online. It's big, it's bold, it's unforgettable. It's Baffy Furniture's legendary final sale of the year.
And the National Productivity Order of Merit Award goes to the only tomato paste manufacturer to win the National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the Federal Government of Nigeria, endorsed by the Association of Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria. This is an evidence of 100% natural goodness, great quality, and great taste. So eat healthy to live longer. Use Erisco tomato paste and products. 100% natural tomato. Better food now correct. Buy now and enjoy up to 20% discount. Erisco tomato paste, taste of
This is NTA News 24.
Many thanks for staying on. The Nigeria Association of Auctioneers has pledged commitment to following due process in handling of all auction matters in line with the Bureau of Public Procurement Guidelines and Proceeds of Crime Act. Caucus of Chairmen of all states and zonal offices of the association made this commitment in Abuja at a press briefing where they expressed confidence in the national president, Musa Kura's leadership. The chairman...
President Alhaji Musa Kura has drawn a line in the sand. He has insisted that all actions must follow due process in line with BPP and POGA Act. It must also be public, competitive, and conducted by registered auctioneers only.
The chairman also refuted reports on a planned election to fill vacant offices, saying the association already held a national election on October 28, 2023, in compliance with court judgment mandating the conduct of an annual general meeting and national election on or before October 31, 2025. The election that produced Musa Kura as national president.
For any group to come out in 2025 and claim they are planning an election in 2026 is not a joke, it is a contempt of the court. Exactly. You cannot schedule an election for a seat that is already legally occupied. Yes.
The association calls on relevant government agencies to relate only with its legitimate leadership led by Musa Kura as national president and not allow impostors visiting government agencies seeking favors. A two-day national summit, which seeks to strengthen collaborative coordination of social development initiatives, as well as foster an operational environment that enables civil society organizations to operate effectively, is ongoing in Abuja. The summit is organized by the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance and funded by the European Union under the CSO's Bridge Strengthening Project. Social development guarantees that growth is not only economic, but human, equitable, and sustainable. The Social Development Act 2004 was originally enacted to coordinate social development initiatives and engage voluntary organizations. However, weak institutional clarity, overlapping responsibilities, and fragmented registration have, however, diminished its relevance.
I want to applaud the CSOs here present because you people are the drivers of this social development, especially at the sub-national.
We are affirming the ministry's readiness to work with partners towards a more inclusive, responsive, and a people-centered social development framework for Nigeria.
Active, revitalized, and properly aligned with national development frameworks can serve as the central coordinating mechanism that ensures efficiency, policy coherence, and inclusive development.
The policy in the Act, if updated, it would help fight gender-based violence, among other issues.
With that, this act, they can then harmonize the regulatory and registration procedures for civil society organizations within their states.
Improved regulatory clarity, operational support for civil society organizations, and a validated Abuja Declaration are other expected outcomes from this summit. In Abuja, Chinenye Nwoye, NTA News. Health experts are urging renewed political commitment, increased investment in the health workforce, and clearer policy direction to strengthen tax shifting and improve maternal health care in Nigeria's primary health care system. Speaking at the Task Shifting Symposium 2025 in Abuja, the experts emphasized that while task shifting remains essential, it requires immediate reinforcement through improved training, stronger supervision, and sustainable financing. Their call comes amid findings that more than half of trained health workers in many primary health centers currently serve as unsalaried volunteers, an issue stakeholders warn is undermining service delivery and worsening health outcomes.
This task shifting symposium is an eye-opener. And as much as we continue to say we have a state of emergency in human resource in health, I also want to say we have a lot of talented people who, when trained well, can easily step into the shoes of senior professionals.
Our study shows that we still have some lower level healthcare workers like community health workers, nurses, midwives who are available to be employed but are still not put on the payroll and are working under very precarious conditions as volunteers. So one of the first recommendations would be there should be more commitment and funding for human resources, and then when we have these human resources, we should be more intentional about training them and providing them with the right supportive supervision that they need such that they are well empowered to deliver healthcare services.
Symposium themed the policy and practice of tax shifting for maternal health care services in Nigeria's primary health care system, explored long-standing human resource shortages and the reforms needed to reduce maternal mortality. You're still on to the news desk at 11 on NTN News 24. Let's take another look at our major stories. President Bola Tinubu declares security emergency, orders army and police to recruit more personnel. Senate proposes death penalty for offenses bordering on kidnappings and other terrorism-related crimes. and rescued MAGA schoolgirls reunite with their families.
This is NTA News 24.
President Bola Tinubu has nominated 3 non-career ambassadors. This was contained in a letter sent to the Senate at Wednesday's plenary for confirmation. The nominees are Kayode Are from Ogun State, Aminu Dalhatu from Jigawa, and Ayodele Oke from Oyo State. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has therefore directed the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs to review the nominations and report back to the chamber within 1 week. This is the first list of ambassadorial nominees President Tinubu has sent to the Senate since assumption of office in May 29, 2023. And that's the end of the late evening news at 11 on NTA News 24. Many thanks for watching. I am Chinenye Oi.
Credible elections at the local government so that these credible people can manage the funds of local government properly.
There are a lot of respected traditional rulers in the state who can say, look, enough of this thing. Mr. Governor, welcome. Thank you for coming. When you win, what will you do?
I was the first woman that mobilized women within the local government to form the National Council of Women Society, by creating awareness in women that they must serve, they must be part of what is happening within their community.
If you stop expenditure on infrastructure, how do you now attract investments?
The state governors, the presidency, that the federal government and the local government are all waiting for revenue from crude oil. Every state has something peculiar. So the emphasis now, if your local government has something peculiar to that particular local government, the emphasis should be keep producing that particular product.
We need to do 3 things. Prevent the ability of the terrorist groups to generate funding, their ability to recruit, and then their ability to access weapons.
The traditional ruler gives me a title. I sit in the front row in the church, or if I'm going to mosque and I'm calling the people are passing in God's own house. What am I doing? I'm mentoring a new generation who think that the only way to be taken seriously is to be seen to have a lot of money.
Good Morning Nigeria, live every weekday between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the network service of the NTA.
There were obstacles and there were hurdles that we had to face. There were challenges and there were struggles that we had to brace. Now there's a sound of change that is coming, a journey towards a transforming and rebuilding a system that will stand the test of time. Yes, we're building a system that will stand the test of time.
Efficient, productive, incorruptible, citizen-centered and epic culture.
This is the Federal Civil Service. Our mission is clear as day. This is a call to transformation. This is a vision for change. A citizen-centered epic culture. Join us to move Nigeria forward. This is the Federal Civil Service. We are marching to greatness.
This is the scale of justice on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. On this edition, we will be reviewing constitutional development in Nigeria right from the 1914 Constitution to the 1999 Constitution. The inauguration of some legal practitioners into the INABA will also feature on this edition. Welcome on the scale of justice. I am Dele Atumbi. The Nigerian nation is a country that is guided by the rule of law with written constitution. After our independence in 1960, Nigeria commenced sovereign governance with the Republican Constitution that evolved parliamentary system of government. The 1999 Constitution introduced presidential system of government. It is in the light of this that the scale of justice goes to the memory lane on constitutional development in Nigeria with the former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Joseph Daudu, SAN. Take a listen.
The evolution of the Nigerian Constitution can be broadly divided into two phases: pre-independent constitutional development, 1914 to 1960, and post-independence constitutional development, 1960 to date. What are the major features of these two phases?
The question is very important, and it's vital or critical that we know the history of the evolution of the Nigerian political society as it is today. And the best starting point is what has happened from the colonial times to post-colonial times, and they are divisible or dividable into various sections. So, as you have aptly put it, there is a colonial era which starts from 1864, from the annexation of Lagos, and the British restricted their governance to Lagos at that time and continued to make inroads into other parts of Nigeria, to Lagos, to Calabar, Lokoja, the race to Nikki, to Kaduna, and to the north. So let's fast forward to 1900. As at 1900, the British had successfully established the protectorates of northern and southern Nigeria and the colony of Lagos. So that was how it was known, and they had separate administrations. And the separate administrations were formalized in 1906. Then we fast forward again to 1914, And that is when the two protectorates and the colony of Lagos were amalgamated and confirmed and named one country, Nigeria. We hear that Nigeria was named by Lord Lugard's, we don't know whether his wife or girlfriend, Miss Flora Shaw. And so that's how the name Nigeria came from the river Niger. Coincidentally, that that started or gave birth to the first constitution, which is the Lugard Amalgamation Constitution. And I understand that the first capital of the North was then at Zungeru. That constitution was very simple, basically simple in the sense that it provided for legislative functions only for Lagos and Calabar. I think there was a legislative seat for Lagos and a legislative seat for Calabar. And you had to be worth £100. Today I will put it at about 100 million in terms of value to be able to stand election for that legislative list. Who and who won that seat is not important for our purpose now. What is important is that that was the legislative arrangement. The rest of the country, the south and the north, were governed by proclamations made by the Governor General. And Lord Lugard was the first Governor General of Nigeria.
What are the features of the 1922 Constitution or Clifford Constitution of 1922?
Clifford Constitution of 1922 was not much different from the 1914 Constitution, except in the sense that it had an enlarged electoral system. That is for the South, Lagos, and I think Calabar too. And it was at the end of the First World War, and was beginning to have agitations for some form of participatory government by the indigenous occupants of Nigeria. And so they reduced the £100 to qualify for legislative seats to £50, and the number of seats were increased. I think probably between 7 and 14 for the different zones. And Clifford continued until into the Second World War, when a lot of Nigerians were recruited into the British Army to fight in Burma, and they came back more enlightened, with more eyes opened, and Sir Arthur Richards, who was then the Governor General, due to bow down to agitations and had to give birth to the Richards Constitution. Now, the Richards Constitution is an improvement on the Clifford Constitution, in that it made the West African Court of Appeal the final court for the colonies, the British colonies in West Africa. It also entrenched the high courts. At that time, there was yet no Supreme Court. That came in the later constitutions, that is the 1954 constitution, that's the Littleton Constitution. So at this point in time, there was a devolution of powers, starting from the village to the district, and also to the regional. At that time there was yet no regions, but within the protectorate of northern and southern Nigeria. But it was post-Civil War. There were certain details that which are not necessary for us, but there was an increased participation in the governance of the country by allowing Nigerians to take part in the governance of the legislation of their areas.
To take a look at 1954 Littleton Constitution, it further entrenched federalism, giving more autonomy to the regions. How did the regions perform as at that time?
I would say that they did very well. They did very well in the sense that they held their own. There was competition among the regions, healthy competition. Corruption was virtually eliminated. If it was there, it was limited to buying rally bicycles and other pertinences of being a big man. But at that time, it was more that if the West was building infrastructure, laying foundation for education, the East was also doing the same thing. The North was also doing the same thing. So there was healthy competition among the regions. Contrary to the over-Balkanization of the territory, for which the money is now not enough to go around, and people prefer to put it in their pockets. So regionalism, as at that time, worked. And maybe the quality of the leaders at that time that could be responsible. But the 1954 Constitution took into consideration the quality of the business in those regional houses, and then began to work on the aspirations of those regional houses, that these regions were ready for self-government. Both the West and the East were allowed to govern themselves in 1957, and the North delayed for 2 years until they said they were ready in 1959, because independence was imminent. Again, flowing from the 1954 Constitution, where the Constitutional Conference held at Lancaster Hall in the UK, and prominent at Lancaster, the Constitutional Conference of 1957, were the interests of the minorities. There had begun to be grumblings in the East, the Midwest, the Middle Belt, of their real identity and fate in the regions that were already monopolized by large ethnic groups. The Midwest did not see themselves as Yorubas, and were already complaining that they needed a region. But the problem was that they were of small ethnic nationalities, and each one could not have its own region, according to the concept of governance at that time. The Minister of Lagos Affairs was a northerner. There was unity in the country. Nobody, everybody wanted to work for the interest of the new nation that was coming. And so independence was declared in 1960, and the Parliament, the British Parliament, bequeathed to us an independence constitution, the features of which is within recent memory, and a lot of people will be familiar with it. But what it basically did not do was to disentangle us from the apron strings of the UK government, which is it maintained the Queen as the titular head of government. It maintained the Queen as the final authority for governance in Nigeria, while you had a prime minister who was elected by parliament to govern over all of Nigeria. And the regions had their regional premiers. The East had its premier, the West had its premier, and the North, the Southern as premier. Again, the last final court for adjudication was really the Privy Council. And so the Supreme Court of Nigeria, because we were still technically a dominion of the British government, the Queen had the Privy Council, which is a Queen's Court for colonies, had the final say on all appeals that emanated from our Supreme Court. Now, some historians have made it appear as if those were the shortcomings, that it was not proper for the Privy Council to be the final court of appeal for Nigerian cases. But that is not altogether very true. It is the intolerance of our political class that blew up the clamor for the Supreme Court of Nigeria to be the final court. This is what happened. Crisis had begun to brew in 1962 in the Western region government. The nature of the crisis is not important. Only to say that our courts were called upon, and that was the beginning of emergency rule. The declaration of emergency rule by Tafawa Balewa and the installation of one Dr. Maje Kudumi as the administrator, which is why it is not strange that the president can exercise the powers he can exercise when an emergency is declared. So the first emergency was declared in 1962 in the Western region. And litigation arose from that and up to the Supreme Court. Incidentally, the Supreme Court gave its decision and it went to the Privy Council, which gave its judgment not to the liking of the federal government. And at that point in time, the political class made up of the coalition, at that time I think they have a different name for it, of the MPC and the NCNC of the East, while the ABGA, the Action Group, and a few other political parties, the Middle Belt, United Middle Belt parties, were in coalition, and it created a stalemate. But they were able to now legislate a new constitution. The new constitution being the 1963 Republican Constitution. And the 1963 Republican Constitution put an end to our dependence, or the Ipsons, they cut the apron umbilical.
Recently, 57 legal practitioners were elevated to the rank of senior advocates of Nigeria. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, charged them to uphold and preserve the rule of law in the discharge of their responsibilities. The report.
The conferment, which is part of a special section of the Supreme Court of Nigeria marking the commencement of the 2025-2026 legal year of the Apex Court, provided an opportunity for the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, to highlight both challenges and successes recorded in the preceding year, expressing unwavering commitment to an efficient and effective judiciary.
With the continued cooperation of all stakeholders in the administration of justice, we remain committed to achieving even greater efficiency, deepening public confidence in the judiciary, and ensuring that the cause of justice is served with diligence, integrity, and fairness. The judiciary, especially at the subnational level, is often underfunded, which impacts its ability to function effectively. Inadequate funding leads to poor infrastructure, insufficient resources, and inadequate training for judicial staff and support staff.
Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi SAN reaffirmed federal government's resolve to collaborate with the justice sector and other stakeholders in advancing reforms that will elevate the standard of justice delivery in Nigeria.
I support the ongoing administrative and legislative interventions, which include strategic and consistent capacity building, strengthening institutional safeguards for judicial independence, and case management reforms to reduce delays and improve access to justice. Public confidence in judiciary may have plummeted, but we can reverse many of the negative perceptions in this stable year. The computerization of litigation process, including electronic recording of court proceedings in all superior courts of record, is a measure that must be bettered with utmost urgency. Nigeria, particularly those from rural or marginalized communities, should be able to access the justice system at very little cost. The various rules of court must be amended to provide for e-filing, virtual hearing, and speedy dispensation of cases.
We are pleading that we should not continue or bear in mind or think that we can continue to judicialize our democracy. What do I mean? When elections are conducted, Nigerians should learn how to accept the results of the electorate, the plebiscite, as demonstrated through the ballot box. It's not a question of saying plebiscite conducted by voters, then you have another one at the courts. And my lords, I dare say, sir, with all respect, that it is through this means, by this means, that a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, advantageously and inadvertently, mischievously or otherwise, try throwing mud at the Supreme Court and at justices there and there. I want to plead to members of the National Assembly and to all stakeholders that we should find ways and means of normalizing, regularizing, and leveraging on that democracy. And by so doing, please let us excuse the courts.
The new senior advocates of Nigeria expressed their readiness to uphold ethical standards and best practices to sustain public trust in the profession.
This rank is not an end, as we have been told, but a beginning. A call to higher responsibility, to deeper service, and to unwavering fidelity to the rule of law. We understand that to wear this seal is to carry the weight of history, the expectation of the public, and the solemn duty to ensure that justice is preserved. On behalf of my colleagues, I express our gratitude to the Legal Participation Strategies Committee for finding us worthy of this recognition.
Congratulations to the new learners SIG. That's our package of this week of the Scale of Justice. Next week, on the Scale of Justice, premium will be given to the opinion of the former Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, on judicial precedents and introspection on the judiciary. Till then, be law-abiding. I am Dile Atobi. Thanks for being part of the program.
credible elections at the local government so that these credible people can manage the funds of local government properly.
There are a lot of respected traditional rulers in Igbo State who can say, look, enough of this thing. Mr. Governor, welcome.